News just coming in from the United States of America. The US Supreme Court has denied Mumbai 26/11 terror attacks accused Major Tahawwur Rana's application seeking a stay on his extradition to India. Now, Major Tahawwur Rana of the Pakistan Army, living in Canada, a part of Lashkar-e-Taiba's sleeper cell in the United States of America, convicted of a terror attack or a terror plot in Denmark, had renewed his emergency application for stay pending litigation of a petition of a writ of habeas corpus and requested that the renewed application be directed to Chief Justice Roberts in the United States of America. But on Monday, a notice on the Supreme Court website said, and I quote, application denied by court. This is a major development and paves the way for Tahawwur Rana's extradition to India to face trial in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks case. I want to quickly bring in India Today's legal editor Nalini Sharma for more on this big breaking story. Nalini, finally decks cleared for this Pakistani origin Canadian Dr. Tahawwur Rana to face trial in India, or can he still seek some legal recourse? Can he take to some legal recourse in America to avoid being sent to India to face trial in 26/11 Mumbai case?
Well, Gaurav, all his options before the US Supreme Court have officially exhausted, with this application being rejected by none other than the Chief Justice of the US Supreme Court itself. And the reason why it's important, Gaurav, is because when the extradition was first ordered by the US Supreme Court, the prosecutors and the Department of Justice at that time had assured Tahawwur Rana that he will not be handed over to the Indian agencies till the time his emergency application is not decided upon. Now that an order has come on his emergency application and we're still waiting for the full copy of the order, but now that we know that it's been rejected, that officially means that Tahawwur Rana can be handed over to the Indian officials for his extradition proceedings to officially kick off, which means that his return back to India can be expedited now from this order coming in from the US Supreme Court. Gaurav, if you remember, in this emergency application that he had filed, he categorically stated that the reason why he's afraid of being extradited back to India is because he's of Pakistani origin and also he's a Muslim, and considering the kind of atrocities the minority communities in India are facing, there's a very strong likelihood that he might not even be allowed to face trial and might even face death before he faces the trial. But all of those grounds have obviously held no water by the US Supreme Court, which on Friday had met in a private conference where they have decided that there is no merit in this application, because of which it has now been rejected and officially the decks have been cleared.
So here is a Pakistani terror supporter who wants to take recourse to every legal loophole to try avoid facing trial. I want to bring in India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan joining us for more on this case. And Geeta, India has relentlessly pursued this case. This man is a wanted terrorist supporter in India. He's carried out reconnaissance operations not just in Mumbai but also in Delhi and several other Indian cities. So there are many links of Pakistani state and quasi-state involvement in 26/11 that he can shed light on. Why is this extradition so important, Geeta?
Well, it is absolutely important that India starts bringing what Pakistan is not doing, starts bringing people to India to bring them to justice, because otherwise there is no justice on any count when it comes to 26/11, because like India has been saying, like every previous spokesperson in the past, Gaurav had said, which began with Syed Akbaruddin, that 99% of the evidence lies in Pakistan. The onus lies on Pakistan to really bring the perpetrators to book. This is India's window. But remember, this is just part of procedure. The announcement was made not by courts but by Donald Trump himself when Prime Minister Modi was there in his presence at that press conference where we were there. I was there, and he made that very clear that they're going to send a terrible man, a terrorist, back to India. So all this, him trying to find or seek recourse, is to no avail. He will be brought to India. It's only a matter of time.
India Today has the best team of reporters getting you a 360-degree perspective on this big story. I've covered the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. I've covered the trial of David Coleman Headley in that Chicago federal court. And there is a lot of information that these terrorists and terror supporters and enablers have. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma into this conversation. Shivani, as far as this terror plot is concerned, now, Ajmal Amir Kassab, he got a fair trial in India. After following due process of law, he was ultimately hanged for his crimes. And look at people like Tahawwur Rana, after carrying out the terror attack in our country, they claim Muslims are not safe in India. That is yet another attack on our country. Of course, an attack like this, which is carried out by some even within this verbal attack on India's integrity. But this doesn't cut ice anymore, Shivani. It's very crucial that Tahawwur Rana is handed over and he spills the beans on who were the masterminds of 26/11 in the Pakistani state, Shivani.
Certainly, Gaurav, this is a big breakthrough where India had been trying for his extradition, and now supposedly he'll be very soon in India and the investigations will go on. We know that Pakistan has not supported this investigation of 26/11, and it took so long because of Pakistan's not supporting India in this investigation. There had been a lot of pressure from India, from international bodies also. And after all, after trying all the tricks, Tahawwur Rana, his plea has been denied. He will be extradited and the investigation will go on, and perhaps justice will be done to all those who lost their lives in this attack. And it is actually laughable, Gaurav, when Tahawwur Rana is trying to say that India is not safe for minorities. Look at Pakistan, what's happening out there. And look at how it has been pushing terrorists inside Indian boundaries. And India has been raising this issue internationally. And now Pakistan is exposed. Every time it tries these tricks, it gets exposed, and once more it is exposed of all the terror that it has been harboring.
Shivani,
in its
Nalini
country.
and Geeta, India's finest team of reporters on ground, our correspondents and editors are tracking the story, and we will stay on top. For the moment, many thanks for joining me. Now, is Bangladesh seeking to revive the Lal Munir Haat airbase using Chinese funds and Pakistani expertise, getting those China-Pakistan collaboration JF-17 Thunder fighter jets? Now, why is Lal Munir Haat important? It's in the northern part of Bangladesh. It's barely 160 to 200 kilometers away from that sensitive Siliguri corridor. China has committed $2.1 billion in investment, loans and grants to Bangladesh. Mohammed Yunus was there recently. This was the agreement. And this package includes specific allocation for port-related projects too. So $400 million have been pledged for the modernization of the Mangla port, Bangladesh's second largest port. Should India be deeply concerned? An airbase and a port, is this a breach of India's security red line? I have Ambassador Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, joining me on the broadcast. I have Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Eastern Air Command, former Vice Chief of Air Staff, joining me on this special broadcast. We'll talk to them in great detail, but first, this report.
Nobel laureate Professor Mohammed Yunus, interim advisor to Bangladesh government, sought a one-on-one meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the recent BIMSTEC summit in Bangkok. Despite the handshake and cordial conversation, Bangladesh under Mohammed Yunus is reported to be taking hostile steps to adversely impact India's security red lines near the Chicken's Neck or Siliguri corridor. Analysts in India have reacted strongly to reports that Bangladesh has invited Chinese investment to revitalize the British-era base at Lal Munir Haat in North Bangladesh, close to the Siliguri corridor. Analysts in India have reacted strongly to reports that Bangladesh has invited Chinese investment to revitalize the British-era base at Lal Munir Haat in North Bangladesh, close to the Siliguri corridor.
यूनस ने चीन में ये भी एक आश्वासन दिया है, उन्होंने चीन की कंपनियों को न्योता दिया है कि लाल मुनीर हाट जो बिल्कुल सिलीगुड़ी कॉरिडोर के पास है, वहां पे चीन आके मॉडर्न बांग्लादेश एयरफोर्स बेस कंस्ट्रक्ट करे और इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो है वो पाकिस्तान करेगी. कंस्ट्रक्शन पाकिस्तान से होगा और पैसा चीन से आएगा.
The Chicken's Neck, or the sensitive Siliguri corridor, is a slender 22 kilometers wide strip of land in West Bengal. It is approximately 200 kilometers long and connects Bengal to Assam and the seven sister states Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, Mizoram, Meghalaya and Sikkim. It is wedged between Nepal to the west, Bhutan to the north and Bangladesh to the south and the east. Reports suggest work on the Lal Monirhat Air Base could begin by October 2025 and a Pakistani company would work as the subcontractor for the airbase project.
Chief advisor of Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus, not only invited investments by China but also proposed a number of establishments and structures in Bangladesh by China. India has been monitoring all these developments, including the reports of an airfield that China plans to establish in Bangladesh's Lal Monirhat district that can pose a threat to India's Chicken Neck area.
In a recent visit to Beijing, Mohammad Yunus had claimed Bangladesh was the only guardian of the ocean and the 7 northeastern states of India are landlocked.
7 states of India, eastern part of India, called Seven Sisters, they are landlocked country, landlocked region of India. They have no way to reach out to the ocean. We are the only guardian of the ocean for all this region.
Yunus sought Chinese investment, claiming there was a huge possibility for Beijing, with Bangladesh becoming an extension of the Chinese economy. He said build things, market them, take them to China or export to the rest of the world.
China, Bangladesh and Pakistan are thinking that by putting pressure on vulnerability of Chicken's Neck on India, but they forget that India is fully prepared, whether it is militarily, strategically, infrastructure-wise, diplomatically, economically, we can take different measures.
As far as India is concerned, the defense of Siliguri corridor is of a prime importance and India take no chance. India has deployed the best of the weapon system and our defenses, whether it is on land or air, is impregnable.
China has reportedly pledged $350 million to expand the China Economic and Industrial Zone in Chattogram, with another $150 million allocated for technical assistance. Bangladesh has also sought Chinese assistance on Teesta water management, seeking a 50-year management plan.
CDS had recently visited the area, and the army chief also in a recent remark said that the Chicken's Neck is India's strength and not the weakness. India is monitoring all the developments that are happening in Bangladesh, China and Pakistan, is all set to up its strength in these areas with regular exercises and enhanced deployments. This is Shivani Sharma with camera person Pawan Kumar for India Today from New Delhi.
And let me quickly bring into this conversation Ambassador Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, and Air Marshal Khosla, former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Eastern Air Command, and former Vice Chief. Ambassador Sikri, how seriously should India view this news of Bangladesh wanting to make or revive the Lal Monirhat Air Base with Chinese funds and Pakistani jets and expertise?
I think we have to view this with the utmost seriousness. I must say that the entire visit of Professor Mohammad Yunus to China is geared up entirely to threaten India's security interests. And I can point out 3 specific projects in the way in which it has been done. One is this Lal Monirhat project, which which will bring in Pakistani workers and of course ISI agents, will bring in Chinese money, and so near the Indian border that it has to constitute a direct threat. This news has come in all major newspapers and it has not been denied at all by any of the Bangladesh authorities. The second project, which I must tell you about, is also the Mongla port modernization. Again, this is a project which had been given by Sheikh Hasina to India. And the first thing that Mohammad Yunus did was to dismantle the Indian connection with the project and to bring in China. And now they've awarded the project to China. Again, Mongla port is not even a day's sailing from Kolkata. And it is very, very near the West Bengal Bangladesh border, and as well to be a direct threat to India's security interests. The third one is at Teesta. Here again, the Teesta water management project is something that China had always been showing interest in, even when Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister. And they put a lot of pressure on her to accept this to give the project to China, which involves bringing in water management, embankment building, and a large number of Chinese experts over there. India had really raised it very strongly with Sheikh Hasina, and she had actually made a statement saying that this project should be awarded to India and not to China. And that was the main reason why China expressed so much dissatisfaction with her when she went there in July of last year. And now again, this has been awarded to China. So we're seeing the consistent effort of the Mohammed Yunus government to bring in China into every possible way. We've also seen what he promised them on the Northeast, telling them this is
And
an
look at how
extension of
they're
Chinese economy.
inching closer. How they're inching closer to our borders. And Air Marshal Khosla, India has our Rafales and BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles and the S-400 systems. But do we now have to grapple with this added tension if Pakistan were to help Bangladesh make an airbase close to Siliguri corridor with Chinese assistance, especially after what happened in Dolam in 2017, or Doklam as the Chinese call it?
Definitely, Gaurav. 2017, I handled the Doklam issue in Eastern Air Command, and they were trying to inch through Bhutan and coming closer to the Siliguri corridor. Now they're coming from the southern side, and this airfield which we are talking about is south of Ashimara airfield, south of Coach Bihar, and what reports have come out is that it will be 700 acres property with about 70 fighters capability to operate from there. And it will not only have operational wing, it will also have 3 divisions: one for operations, one for university for teaching, and another one. So there will be quite a potent base as far as Bangladesh is concerned. And bigger picture I should look into is that he is looking into getting fighter jets from Pakistan and China. Then beginning of the year they showed interest in JF-17 as well as J-10C from China. And Chinese, they have become the second largest importer of arms from China after Pakistan. So the nexus which is there between the three, that is a bigger issue. And as you brought out, it's a red line for us as far as Chicken's Neck is concerned. And we'll do whatever is required to be done to protect it.
We'll do whatever it takes to protect it, and that message must go out loud and clear, because Ambassador Sikri, this appears to be an openly hostile action, a breach of security or a breach of our red lines. What is worse, the establishment in Bangladesh appears to be inciting its people virtually every other day against India, and some within our own country were hailing that so-called student revolution, which was nothing but radical Islamists taking center stage in Bangladesh, madam.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Students' Party, the so-called, the Students' Revolution was not a students' revolution at all. It was called a spontaneous student uprising, but we know very well it was neither spontaneous nor a students' uprising. And the students were really the Islami Chhatra Shibir members, who were the student youth wing of the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is now the real power behind the throne of Mohammed Yunus. And the Islami Chhatra Shibir and many other people who are the key chosen people of Mohammed Yunus have now formed a political party. And this is called the King's Party. It's called, the National Citizens Party and so on. And one of the leaders of this party, Sarjus Alam, has just today put out a tweet calling for the overthrow of Prime Minister Modi. So they are getting, as you rightly say, more and more anti-Indian, more and more vicious every day. And they're doing it deliberately. They're doing it because they want to incite their own people into a kind of an anti-Indian frenzy, and to not let them think in any way about a peaceful, prosperous, and good neighborly relation between India and Bangladesh. Our Prime Minister had made it very clear in his discussions with Professor Mohammed Yunus in Bangkok, and in the tweet he put out later, that we are prepared for a constructive, people-to-people oriented relationship with Bangladesh. But Chief Advisor Yunus just does not want that at all. And in addition to all of this that we're talking about is the continuing attacks on the Hindu, Christian, and Buddhist minorities. This has now become a silent terror. In fact, it has become so vicious that there are now silent arrests taking place. They don't come in the media at all. Nobody can report them because the media is completely gagged. And we do not get any of this news in the media, and nobody dare report about it. Chinmoy Das, who was the leader of the Hindu and Christian and Buddhist minority and had proposed an 8-point demand, he's been thrown into jail, and there's not a single trial for him, nor any bail for him. In fact, it was taken up. And again, Mohammed Yunus, I believe, told our Prime Minister that he's going to personally looking into this case. But we know he made a similar promise in August of last year, and nothing happened after that. It just became worse and worse and worse, and it continues. So I think this genocide, this ethnic genocide that is going on in Bangladesh very quietly, completely away from the media, and anything that comes in the Indian media is called propaganda. So I think it is absolutely shocking. It's time we call them out on this. I think it's time we call them out. We know that even in the UN Human Rights
Absolutely.
Commission, the complaints have been made.
Absolutely. No, we'll call a spade because we know what is happening on ground. Even if people out down in Bangladesh are very apprehensive about reporting facts because otherwise these radical Islamists would neutralize them. But M. Marshal Khosla, India would often wargame and has wargamed a 2.5 front situation. Now it seems there may well be a, God forbid, a 3.5 front situation, and especially with those illegal Bangladeshis also inside our country. And even if we were to leave those illegal Bangladeshis in India out for a moment, are we looking at tensions on 3.5 fronts?
Yeah, I won't call it 3.5 front, Gaurav. Actually, I used to call it 3 front, taking the internal issues which we have, the insurgencies which we have in 3 areas. So that is the 3rd front. But you're right. When we talk about 2 fronts, we take into account this Chinese strategy which it uses of string of pearls and salami slicing, and third is the cabbage strategy. Cabbage strategy is the enemy in layers you surround it, and then try to reinforce your views or your ideas onto the country. So these are the strategies which you use. And when we do wargaming and other things, we do take into these consideration. And but it is definitely a challenge, and all the countries which are neighboring countries are slowly trying to experiment and trying to with China and trying to go with China, which is a nuisance for us. And obviously, it will become a challenge for us.
What are countermeasures that India must effectively put in place is something that perhaps we may not discuss in public domain, but has to be actioned as quickly as possible, because Ambassador Sikri, what India should be very concerned about is those illegal Bangladeshis in our country, because they're not restricted to any one pocket or any one, locality of, let's say, the Bengal Bangladesh border or the Assam Bangladesh border. They've percolated along the length and breadth of our country, and God forbid, could create trouble. The illegal Rohingyas did near the Sanjuan military air base when there was a terror attack there in Jammu.
Absolutely. This is really an internal threat caused by the persistent illegal immigration from Bangladesh over decades. And I think that we have to take much stronger action to push these illegal immigrants out. There has been some action initiated on this in Delhi and some other cities. We've seen in the 10s and 20s, people are being picked up and deported. But I do not know how strict this is, because very often they are deported, they come right back from the border when they're handed over to the BSF or then to be handed over to the BGB. So this, I think, needs a very, very strong action, because this group of illegal immigrants in India is a 4th front for the Bangladeshis and the Pakistanis in India. I saw this in action when I was there when Khaleda Zia was the Prime Minister, and Jamaat-e-Islami was in her political government as an alliance partner. And they were doing this at that time. They were coming in and creating sleeper cells in India and then activating the sleeper cells at their own will. And every terrorist attack in India at that time had a Bangladeshi footprint, because it used to happen through Bangladesh. I think they're trying to repeat that pattern once again. And it's really a major internal threat which we have to tackle, because it's like the underbelly of India. It's a very weak spot that we have to tackle very carefully. Otherwise, it can prove very dangerous for us. There is the Rohingya threat also, because with the Rohingya threat comes the drug smuggling threat, the Yaba tablets and so on, which are coming into India now in a much larger way in the northeastern.
We'll have a longer discussion on this. Air Marshal Khosla and Ambassador Sikri for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. And this comes at a time when the Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Parliament said that West Bengal government is yet to allocate land for fencing of the India-Bangladesh border, for either fencing or building border outposts. And this brings the situation when you have enemy virtually at the gates. The center and the states have to be on the same page to tackle the threat that India faces, and not just some state or some party. We'll track that story very closely. That's all I have for you on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching.